Gang.
Hello, guys. Welcome to Thursday night with Jenny from the Chopping Block and Dana Liesegang. I wasn't sure how to pronounce that, so I had to ask her. It's such an interesting last name. I love it. It's so unique. What's the German? Cool. I'm German too. Nice. So I wanted to bring Dana on here first and foremost to just thank you, I guess, to you brought me into the unblinded movement, which was it's kind of ironic because today I was on The Real and Raw with them, and you were the person that brought me to that event, and I love you, and I love, I see you have a nice relationship with Adam, and Adam's just like a sweetheart, and he's like behind the scenes, like no, I don't think. I mean, that's what I feel like. People don't even realize how much he does and how kind he is, and
He's the soul of an angel.
yeah, he's amazing. So I also wanted to touch on. So I met you through the Facebook Live challenge, and I've seen some of your journey, and it's kind of amazing how we get to know people through this kind of interaction. And then when you meet in real life, I feel sometimes it gets a little deeper. So I was grateful to get to know you better at Date with Destiny. And that's where, I was food team captain, but we bumped into each other. And I've bumped into you at a few events, and I love your spirit. You're always spunky and doing something fun. And it's just amazing. I love your spirit, your fiery spirit. But that's where you showed me. I don't even know how we got into the elephants, but you told me.
I don't remember how we got into the elephants either.
So interesting. But you were telling me how, maybe I was sharing my dream is to, help wildlife and, have my own sanctuary. I know it's a long time goal, but so you were telling me.
No, we got into that because I wouldn't just randomly bring up the elephant.
I think it was meant.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully I can hook you up with these people so you can get into your dream of helping elephants. And as you're saying, I randomly got linked into a his name is Mark. I think I'm blanking on his name. The mind glitch. Things happen when you're live. Your brain just goes. And anyway, so I was going to buy a piece of property in Paonia, Colorado that this guy was selling. And he and I just started talking, and he had a few other buyers. And I was like, well, how can I help your elephants? Because he was selling the property so that they could make a formula for the orphaned elephants. I believe it's in Sri Lanka. And they like the elephants will fall in the well, and the mamas can't get them out. Or people, they have like these things, they try and keep the elephants out of their rice paddies, and they end up blowing up in these elephants' faces. And so they rescue these elephants. And he was talking that, if people sponsor the orphans, then the orphans get to be set free back into the wild. And I was like, wow, well, how much does it cost to sponsor an elephant? And he was like $150 a month. So I decided that I would sponsor an elephant. Her name is Ashley, and I have been her sponsor for the last 2 years. They get released back into the wild when they're 5 and old enough to be on their own. Because elephants are a lot more like humans. You probably know more about them than I do. And they need their mom, and they need the herd to raise them and show them how to forage and how to survive. They don't just have the instincts like other do.
They're very communal. Yeah. They're very, very loving.
Easy.
Smart. Yeah. What interests you? Like, what was your call? Like, because I mean, I'm asking you. I don't even know why I love them so much. Maybe because I had like close proximity to get to know them a little more. But what brought you? Like, what inspired you with trying to help them?
It was an orphaned animal.
I am.
I'm like, oh my God, an orphan animal and an elephant. They're so smart. I remember about it wasn't much before this happened. There was a gentleman that saved a herd of elephants, and then he died, and they're in Africa, and the elephants knew that he had died. Somehow they knew that this gentleman had died, and they went back to his farm where he saved them, and just to pay their condolences. So I was so impressed by that. And I watched the whole documentary on it. Where it is, I don't know. Where I saw it, I don't know. I watched it and I was just like, wow. So when I heard that they were rescuing orphan elephants, I'm like, I got to step up. So I did.
Beautiful. I love that about you. And I can't wait to go there with you maybe one day soon.
I know. I want to go to Sri Lanka and meet her in person. We can't really touch her much because in order to set them back into the wild, you can't touch them as much. But I mean, just to see her little face in person would be like a dream. So right now, my friends, they're in they might be in Sri Lanka, stuck there right now. I don't know exactly where they're at, but they travel a lot, and they do some fundraising here in Colorado and Crested Butte and awareness. And they have a sanctuary that they're trying to get set up in Northern California to put rescue elephants on from zoos.
Beautiful. I love that so much. Because my brother was telling me about certain programs that were like in Florida, and I'm sure there's more popping up now that there isn't elephants in zoos and people are more conscious of that abuse and just the freedom to them. And
Well, and they're so intelligent and they've been so abused, and it just breaks my heart. So
yeah,
that's why I'm helping Ashley.
so cute. So I didn't know this about you, but I saw that you also train dogs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, my last service dog passed away in August of 2015, and I was like, I am not getting another dog. And then a year went by, and I had a really hard time being without one. So I was like, well, what if I get certified to be a dog trainer? Then I'll be around them. And I went through animal behavior college out of California and got certified as an obedience dog trainer. And the day after I got accepted into the school and the VA, it was eligible for being paid for by the VA. I got accepted. I went and did a talk at a gym, and one of the ladies was like, "Oh, well, you need another dog." I'm like, "I am not ready," and she's like, not listening at all. And it turns out,
I feel like dogs always pick us, though. We don't have a freaking choice.
Like, you get the right dog at the time. I'm like, I was like, I want to be a dog trainer. The universe said, "Oh, good. That's a great idea. Let me give you the most difficult dog possible to train." And so I got Jasper.
Oh, Jasper.
I got that little
So
guy.
cute.
And the lady that was doing my internship was the one I got him from. So synchro destiny at its best. A snowstorm hit Denver. The people that were rehoming him, were sending him to the pound in Denver. And so I was just like, oh, no, I can't let this 8.5-week-old puppy go to the pound. So I took him, and I almost had to rehome him a couple of times. I've been flipped out of my chair. I had a concussion.
Really?
I've got a scar in the shape of a heart on my arm, labeled
That's
love.
really interesting.
He has been a pistol. But what I said about bringing you an animal exactly what you need, I didn't realize how bad I had post-traumatic stress until I lost Jack, until I got Jasper. Because when I got elevated, Jasper got elevated. It was like, oh, we're having anxiety right now? Okay, we're having anxiety.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, you got to be kidding. So he's my back Ashford service dog because I had to get a grip on my own post-traumatic stress in order to help my dog.
Wow.
He is a service dog in the highest form of forcing me to deal with my own shit.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and
I
now
love that.
he's so amazing, and I'm learning more through Pro Dog Training, and they're a company out of um, England, and there's like a game for everything. And right now we're doing a 25-day challenge of a game each day and how to be sexier than a squirrel.
I saw that. I need to know about that. Please tell me more.
My goal is to be sexier than a squirrel. Yeah, it's a good goal in life.
But where did that come from? Why a squirrel?
Because squirrels run and they shake their tail, and dogs chase squirrels. You know the movie Up, where they go squirrel.
Yeah.
So if you can be sexier than that squirrel, if you can get your dog's attention before it goes to the squirrel, before it goes to the piece of food on the ground, the ice cream that some kid left, the dog walking by on a leash, the cat that runs up a tree, you're trying to get your dog to always focus on you through these games, and through the positive games and the training with games, you build the relationship with your dog in a positive dog training, but you elevate that training through Pro Dog games. It's amazing. I'm still working on my Pro Dog certification. So it has been life changing for me and Jasper.
I love that.
There's a game
Amazing.
for every behavior. And there's pessimistic dogs and optimistic dogs. So if you ever see a dog that's like lunging and barking and freaking out on a leash as you walk by, that dog is probably afraid. However, that's a pessimistic dog. The optimistic dog would be like, "Oh, hey, what up?
What's up?
Oh, horn, no big deal." Like your optimistic dog is just the happy-go-lucky, typical happy-go-lucky Labrador. I got the atypical pessimist, afraid of everything. So right now I'm playing a game of, I bought a stuffed cat that's lifelike, and I've been putting it around my house in random places. So I'm training him to not chase a cat, and for helping him gain confidence in random noises, I use the program. It's called Ditch the Bowl. So you use your dog's daily resource of food as training treats. And for Jasper, I put some of his food inside of a box. So he has to kind of go in the box, and he has to be brave to eat the food. And then there's paper that I put down that makes noise. And as long as he's making the noise himself,
it doesn't bother him.
Train random noises. And then we have another game that we call novelty parties, and all this is Pro Dog Training. None of this is out of me. And I just put random things throughout my house that he's not used to seeing. The other day I stacked boxes and I put a hat on top. So he was just like, "Whoa, what the heck?" I put a little bit of his food around it, and he gets to sniff it. He can go away from it. I don't force him to do any of it. Everything is on his choice. So it helps him get comfortable when you're out and about in the world. If a loud noise happens, or a cat runs by, or there's a dog on a leash. So you start with building confidence in your house. And I got, you want to be a dog trainer, the universe will provide you the dog.
I love it so much. That's amazing. So I know that you're doing motivational speaking. I've seen that a little bit. I see you have something exciting coming up. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, the Habitude Warrior Conference. It's actually tomorrow, and I will be on live stream at 3:30, and it would be 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And it's Habitude Warrior Conference. I believe you can sign up for free. So we'll have to find a link and put it in here. And there'll be amazing speakers like Laurel Langmeyer, Eric Swanson, Mr. Awesome, who is the host. There's going to be, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head right now, but if you look at my Facebook page, it's got a list of all the speakers. And I just am privileged, honored to.
So how'd you get incorporated into that, and what are you going to share with everybody?
Well, I get to thank Tony.
A little preview.
A little shout out to Tony Rodriguez, who has been my coach since UPW last March, actually. And I was on his show, Tony Talks, Get Up and Grow. If you can, friend, go like his YouTube on Get Up and Grow. And I was on one of his shows, and Eric Swanson happened to pop on and watch the interview he did with me. And he was like, hey, you two want to be in the Habitude Warrior Conference? And so that's how I ended up on Habitude Warrior stage. Tony and I were on the stage together. Was it last February? Is it February? Yeah, I think it was February, March. Anyway, it was a live conference before the COVID happened. And now we're switching gears like everybody and going online.
It's so exciting.
Interesting about that is before I went to UPW, I set my intention that I was going to meet Tony. I didn't say Robbins. And I was going to be on stage. And I was going to be on Tony's stage.
That's amazing.
And
I love that.
Rodriguez. And I've been on stage with Tony Rodriguez. And Tony Rodriguez is going to have a conference when we can get to it. He might do online. I don't think he's decided yet. And I'll be one of his speakers as well.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about getting on stage and just sharing your message and inspiring people?
My favorite part is when people get to see that they matter. Their voice matters. And they see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel of their dark nights. And they come up to me and tell me how I've helped them. I helped them grow. I helped them take back their own voice. An example of, when I went on book tour in Canada. I'm an author. I'm published through Hay House. Dr. Wayne Dyer wrote the foreword, had me write the book, and it's called Falling Up, My Wild Ride from Victim to Kick-Ass Victory. And you can get it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. I saw it today, yeah.
This kid, she was 16 years old and had been molested and hadn't spoken in 2 years. She was molested by someone she knew, and her mom was in shock. There was only like 19 people in the room, and out of those 19, she came up to me after everybody left, and she sat down and I talked with her for half. She hadn't spoken to anyone in 2 years. That is what makes me want to get back on stages and help more people. And another gentleman at another venue came into the room, and I was up on the stage, and at the end of my talk, he stood up and he said, I was going to walk out of here and commit suicide after the talk. And because I can see that you're still in your chair, yet you have a positive attitude, and there is more to live for in life, that my problems aren't as bad as I thought they were. And life, I will find a positive thing to live for. And so just a couple of weeks, one young kid started speaking again, and one man decided not to commit suicide. And that's what makes it worth it.
You saved somebody's life and you gave somebody else a voice. I don't think it gets better than that.
No.
Wow. And so my question to you is, how did you get to this point? Like, through all that you've been through, how did you get to this point, like where you are able to share your story and able to rise up and help other people, and not have that, like you said, like the in the book, it's like you're falling up from victim to kick-ass victory. So how did that come up for you?
I have I got into self improvement, personal development, growth and development in my 20s, and a book I first read was Conversation with God, and then I read Manifest Your Destiny by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And Dr. Wayne Dyer's book, Manifest Your Destiny, changed my life. And who would know that 21 years later, he would be giving me a book deal that he wrote the forward. And like, so for your viewers, so they understand where the victim comes from, I was in the United States Navy, and at the age of 19, I was raped and thrown off of a 75-foot cliff and left for dead. I became quadriplegic. I broke C1 through C5. So you only have 7 bones in your neck. And quadriplegia means you have been affected by paralysis from whatever point in your neck you've broken down, and a severe brain injury. And so from the age of 19 to the age of I'm 48 now, I have been falling up, in my opinion, ever since. And at 21 years post injury, I met Dr. Wayne Dyer because I'm like, I set out to meet him. I'm like, he taught me how to manifest. So I went on a cruise in 2012 in Australia because I learned he had chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And I'm like, oh my God, I have got to thank this man before he dies.
Wow.
And I genuinely just wanted to thank him.
You're
and
unbelievable.
I set the intention, which is why I was cocky and set my intention at Tony Robbins to meet Tony Robbins, be on Tony Robbins' stage. I had no idea. I didn't really even know anything about Tony Robbins because I was such a Wayne Dyer fan. And Wayne Dyer died 2 weeks after my Jack died. So it was kind of a double whammy for me. So I was on the cruise and I'm like, all right, I played this game called Wish with another gal on the cruise, and I put my wish and I wrote out a dinner invitation. I'm like, whether it's on the cruise or in Maui or somewhere, I wrote it out and stuck it in my purse. 2 days later, I was at a personal dinner with Dr. Wayne Dyer. Yeah, she saw me dancing and oh my gosh, you have such a positive attitude. Can I put you in my book? And her book is Don't Die With Your Music Still in You. And she her dad. And so I'm at dinner with him and I handed him the invitation. And he's like, oh, well, I healed my leukemia and I was through John of God in Brazil, in Abadiânia, Brazil. He never went there. He got a remote healing. And I'm like, all right.
Wow.
After that cruise, I booked myself on a flight and went to Abadiânia, Brazil, where I had 2 spiritual surgeries. What these spiritual surgeries are, I don't know.
I'm dying to know.
And there, I went down to the sacred waterfall and I let the water wash over me. And a lady said, wow, a dark shadow just washed down the stream. And I was like feeling really good. And I'm like, it's time to let go of the anger. And when I decided to let go of the anger, I decided it was time for forgiveness. And forgiveness is when the journey to freedom began. And that's when I really started sharing my story more. And I went back on another cruise, because who doesn't want to go on a cruise to the Mediterranean with Wayne Dyer? So,
You're amazing.
So I went on this cruise to the Mediterranean just to tell him I went to see John of God. And he's like, no way. So he pulled me down to the stage and I spoke on his stage. And then his daughter's like, you have to write a book. I said, I'm not a writer. And then she's like, I'm going to tell my dad if you don't write a book. I'm like, oh, dear Lord, please don't tell my hero that I'm not going to write a book, a man who's written 44 plus books. And I'm like, no, I don't feel like writing one. So he calls me. I end up when I get home, I get a phone call from him personally, and I heard his voice on the other end of my phone. I'm my
Pinch
chair.
me. Pinch me.
Yeah, and he's like, and I'm like, wait, I'm not a writer. He's like, we'll get you one. And I'm like, okay. So, when Wayne Dyer says you're writing a book, you don't say no. And he pulled me on the stage in Denver. He pulled me on his stage in Maui. He pulled me up onto the stage in Portland. And he was grooming me to share my story and help other people, as Tony Rodriguez would say, help other people get up and grow. And after he passed and Jack passed, my dog, I went down a dark rabbit hole for a while. And Wayne gave me one of his hats before he died. I put it on one night. I'm like, buddy, I need some help because I got suicidal myself. And then Tony Robbins starts flashing all over my Facebook page. I never even so much as said the name Tony Robbins in my
Me either.
And all of a sudden, flashing, flashing. I'm like, fine, I'll go see, and I'll go.
I love you so much. You are gorgeous.
Check him out, see what he's got to say. I ended up buying Mastery University.
Start day 2. I'm with you.
So now I still have. I'm gonna go to leadership. I traded wealth and leadership.
Ooh, you could do that.
I figured I needed leadership. I need life and wealth mastery. Pretty good at mastering life, I'd say. So it's like the universe, when you have a story to share, which everyone does, and you have a life path and you were born for something. I accidentally minored in public speaking.
Interesting.
There are 2 things that people fear most, and that's death and public speaking. And so it wasn't an accident that I really minored in public speaking. It's just something that came natural to me. And I went for the easy A. I have no idea. I'm like, I can talk in front of these kids. I'm good. And then I ended up winning a prize for the student showcase at the university I graduated from, Colorado Mesa University. And they were like, you can minor, you have all the classes. So I actually didn't declare it. I just was like, I'm good. However, one of the projects was speaking and checking out different speakers. So I went and checked out Tony Robbins, loved it. Date with Destiny's too cold for me. I won't go back. But
I'm a UPW girl, I gotta say.
I like UPW.
I love UPW. I cannot wait to get back.
Yeah, I would like to crew UPW. I would definitely do that. I actually almost left UPW. And in another synchronicity, I almost left UPW. And
what event?
The first day, I was like, God, I'm exhausted and it's kind of cold and I'm hungry, and I realized that's part of it. I'm like, I'm over this. I'm good. I'm been deprived. I'm all right. So I was like, and they were like, well, tomorrow Joseph McClendon III is going to be up, and I was like, all right. Something drug my butt out of bed, and I went to Joseph McClendon, and I freaking fell in love with Joseph McClendon and his attitude. And I was like, all right. And he just prepares you more for the next day in the Dickens process. And Tony Rodriguez wasn't assigned anywhere. He wasn't supposed to. He wasn't even going to go to UPW, and he went. So when I set my intention of meeting Tony, I sort of brought Tony Rodriguez into the picture and didn't even know it.
You guys are like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, he's like one of my best friends in the world. Like, I love him so much, like a brother. And it just was such a fast, like, connection. So you've walked lives before. I don't know if you believe in past lives.
Oh, yeah.
So
You
we
find the same people.
together in life before, because we just collect like peaches and cream, and he's been coaching me, and now I'm kind of coaching him, and the coaching goes back and forth. Now it's awesome. And like he wasn't supposed to be in the room, and he didn't have a station normally during the Dickens process he would have a station he's at. Didn't have one. So he went in there, and they're like, nope, someone was already there. So he went to the next one. Nope, someone was already there. And until he ended up where I was, and he saw me, and I was like, I'd been standing up, sit down, stand up, sit down. You know how it is. And you're done sitting down, and my legs were shot. I was like, during the Dickens process, and Tony Robbins is like, stand up, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. So I mean, like, he watched from behind. I didn't know he was back there, and I'm like, all right, D, get your ass up out of this chair. And I just mustered as much strength as I possibly could, and I pulled myself up to standing, and I'm just like, okay. And then I started wobbling and shaking, and he went behind me using energy, holding me up. And before that, he had flipped a scooter in the middle of the street, so his back was jacked up.
Sure.
And at one point, I was about to go down, and he comes up, and all I heard, I didn't know what he looked like. I'd never seen him before. He's like, can I help you? And I was like, yes. And he puts his arms underneath my armpits, and he's holding me up we were up for the rest of the Dickens process, and it was like an hour. And he was in pain, and I was in pain. And at one point, he's like, I got to let you down, or we're both going down. So he sat down, and then we were chatting. I told him how I got hurt, and he's like, I want to be your coach. Wow. And I was like, okay. And, of course, all weekend they're like, get a coach. You need a coach. And I manifested my coach.
That is some story.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's one of the greatest friends I have in the world. I love him to death.
So beautiful. I love how before this call, so me and Dana had time at 8:00. We were going to come on and talk to everybody. And then I saw Tony go live with Joseph McClendon. I'm like, Dana. I was like,
Joseph's on. Tony.
Like, JM3.
Like, oh, see you later.
That all worked out. I'm so happy I got to connect with you, and I'm drawn to you. So I guess that's part of my manifestation, because I just think you're absolutely gorgeous, and you're just so inspiring, and I just appreciate all you've done for me. What'd you say?
I'm grateful to be on your show.
Thank you.
This is fabulous.
So I want to ask you, so I just want to backtrack a little bit, because I missed like the Wayne Dyer. I'm sorry, I know the time is going, but Wayne Dyer, like, what introduced you to him?
I was in my 20s, and I was in a marriage that wasn't going well, and I was like trying to figure out what to do with it, and I was living in Texas at the time, and there was a holistic health fair or something in Austin, and I was in San Antonio. So my husband and I at the time, we went to Austin for this holistic conference, and there were lots of different speakers and psychics and all kinds of stuff. And I'd heard Wayne's name. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't go see him speak then. I was busy with a psychic trying to figure out if my marriage was going to last. And she was like,
I love you.
And then like everybody's all around, the buzz of the whole conference was, did you see Wayne Dyer? Did you see Wayne Dyer? I'm like, no, I don't even know who he is. I don't care. and they're like,
that's usually how it works, right?
Pardon?
That's how I feel like that's how it works.
Right? I'm like,
yeah.
I don't really give a shit. I don't care. And then I'm in Borders bookstore. I was living in Borders bookstore, and I would go there. I'd go to the VA in San Antonio, do my workouts, do my juicing, go get vitamins and minerals intravenously. I mean, I was doing a lot of alternative medicine.
Beautiful.
And And then I would hang out in Borders bookstore until my ex-husband would go to sleep. He went to sleep like 10 o'clock and Borders closed. So I would just go hang out there reading books. And I'm in there a couple weeks after this conference, and all of a sudden a book falls off the shelf in front of me, dang near hits me, and I pick it up, and it's Manifest Your Destiny by Dr. Wayne Dyer. I was like, booga, booga, booga. What? I'm like, this is that cat that was at the conference. So I went over and I got his audio version of it and listened to it, and then I was hooked from then on out. And at that point I started, and at that time I was still paralyzed from like collarbone down. I had 0 finger function in both hands, and I'm like, I had a little tiny bit of strength. I could put weight into my left leg. That was it. I was using leg braces and standing frames and strapping my feet to pedals on an Airdyne bike where I could move my arms that would make my feet move. And I would stationary hand cycle for hours saying, I am walking, 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 because, and doing Wayne's awe meditation, because I was like, he said I could do this. I'm doing it. And so after that, I manifested myself out of my marriage into a healthier lifestyle. My ex-husband was the one that got me into alternative healing, and like we just brought out the worst in each other, and it just wasn't a real good match. It's not that he's a bad person. There's just it
There's someone better for you.
yeah, well, and there's someone better for him.
Mm-hmm.
And like the reality is, if I was just too young. I was too young for him. He was in his 40s. He was 18 years my senior, and I was in my 20s. And I was dealing with post-traumatic stress, and I didn't even know it, because according to the military, what happened to me didn't happen. And
I never knew that side of it.
oh yeah, they gave me the option of, you can take your right to remain silent in the court of law, and you'll be 100% service connected through the VA the rest of your life. Here are all of your benefits. If you take this to court, you will lose. You can take this to court, but you will lose. You will get nothing, and your parents will be left paying your medical bills. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll take my right to remain silent in the court of law. Not much of a choice. So hindsight, and I mean, I'm glad I made that choice, because people who are sexually assaulted in the military now, a lot of them are being discharged with personality disorders when they come forward. So it's, and the military just doesn't understand what they're doing. And it goes back to forgive those, for they know not what they do. They think that they're saving the entity of one when they're actually breaking down that morale by not putting the perpetrator in jail, by not persecuting the people who are assaulting. They're hurting that unit, because in the military you have to work as one person. Even though there's 1,500 of you on a ship, you got to work as one unit. And what people don't understand or might not know is, because of the numbers of men in the military, more men are assaulted than women, but there's fewer women in the military, so the percentage of women is higher. So I've heard it many times, like, well, that's what you get for being a woman. You shouldn't have joined the military to begin with. You don't belong there. Or, well, we shouldn't have women in the military. Well, rape is not a gender issue. It's a power struggle. It is everything with inside the perpetrator. And when a perpetrator gets away with it, they will commit the same crime 50% of the time. And the young man that put me in a wheelchair when he got out of the military, he went to jail for domestic violence, drug trafficking, drug doing, and he also held a woman hostage for 6 days and read her scriptures out of the Bible. Like, He just kind of was a bad egg. And who knows what happened to him as a child, or if he had some sort of brain issue. Don't even know. And that's where he set me on my path to help other people. So there may be a karmic line, or before we came into this world, we agreed that he'd be the bad guy and I'd be the victim, and he ended up passing away in his late 30s. So like he died young.
Wow.
And I have lived an amazing life, wheelchair or not, quadriplegic or not. I have traveled the world. I joined the Navy to see the world. I just forgot to put in the contract that I wanted to do it as an able-bodied person. However, doing it on a cruise ship isn't a bad way either. So I think that at this point in my life, yeah, I say forgiveness sets you free, and I genuinely have no ill will toward him or the military. The military is a beautiful place to be. Not every person in it is bad, and some of my best friends still are people that I met in the military. So there's so much good to put a bad light on the military, and yeah, they have learning to do. We all do. I think that the military could set the stage for the rape culture in all society. They could set the stage by starting to prosecute each and every one that commits rape or assault, and then the rest of the civilian world would follow.
I think that's such a powerful statement, and I believe that. And I just thank you for sharing everything you did tonight. That was really special, and I appreciate that.
I don't know how long your show is, so I'm just kind of.
Well, we're at 42 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. But I want to ask you, what's your favorite food and why?
My favorite food. Okay, let's be real. My favorite food is sugar.
You're a sweet girl.
My favorite nutritional food is sushi. And why? And thank you to my ex-husband for teaching me all about sushi and how amazing it is. I never liked fish before I ate sushi.
Me either. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't like anything that tastes fish. But sushi doesn't taste fishy, and it's delicious. And I like rice, and I like wasabi, and I like sake, and I like I like having a little bit of sake, wasabi, and ginger all at the same time. It's like a little party in your mouth.
What's your favorite sushi roll?
I'm more of a sashimi person. I like salmon belly.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm big on the salmon belly, and as far as rolls go, it depends on what restaurant I'm at.
Well, I'm treating you to sushi next time I see you, if that's okay.
I will not turn that down.
It's a date.
It's a date.
All right.
Much. I really appreciate you.
I love you so much. You're gorgeous. And it's always good to see you and get to know you better. So thank you so much for sharing and bringing value to everyone that has the privilege to know you. So
thank you.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.